I didn't learn to read till I was 14. Didn't learn to do math. Still, though, I've got to say I have trouble with numbers. Couldn't write. And then I say to them, can you imagine how I felt? Because at their age, I felt stupid, I felt dumb, I felt pointless. I didn't even dare have any dreams. Why would I have any dreams? Because only, dreams aren't going to come true for me. Not a loser like me. My nightmare was having to read in front of my class, and that's why I'm borrowing this book. In the old days, they used to make you get out of your seat and come up to the front of the room. And I mean in front. And you would stand there and they'd have you open a book and then face all of those kids. What I remember about that, I felt like I was standing in front of a firing squad. The book would start shaking. My knees would literally start to collapse. My heart would pound so fast and so hard, I was sure the kids in the back row could hear it. I'd hang on to the book so tightly, it bent back and broke all of my fingernails. And what I remember the most was looking into the faces of all those kids that were looking at me. And inside I was thinking, oh God, don't do this to me. Don't make me do this. Not in front of them. Because they're looking at me and they're going to know. They're going to know. But I would still try. And it didn't matter how hard I tried. My brain changes whatever I see. I have dyslexia, dysnumeria, dysgraphia, and failure of sensory integration. So can you imagine, though, how embarrassing that was? Because I had just failed in front of my entire world. And what made it a million times worse, as I walked back to my desk, every kid in that room started laughing. And that hurt so deeply. Now, I know young people, probably those kids didn't intend to be cruel, but I think sometimes young people, when they see someone struggling or they see someone who's different, they're actually embarrassed for them or very curious about them, but instead of helping them, they laugh. I would encourage young people, please don't laugh. You have no idea what you're doing, how deeply you're hurting that kid you're laughing at. They may pretend it doesn't bother them. I can guarantee you it does. In that room, though, and we'll touch on this now, there were a group of kids who did intend to be that cruel. I was their entertainment of the year. A day did not go by that they didn't call me names, make fun of me, put me down, ridicule me, dump on me, exclude me, do everything they could to make my life miserable. In my day, we called people like them bullies. And what is tragic and sad, many, many schools today are full of kids exactly like them. You see, there is no place in the building I could go to get away from their murdering words. And if you don't think words can kill a kid, you better think again. You won't kill their bodies, but you're going to kill everything about them that makes them feel safe and whole. These kids enjoyed it. Their favorite place of attack, of course, was out on the playground, because I hope you realize bullies want the kids as far away from the heroes, the teachers. They don't want them near a teacher because a teacher is going to help them. So they want the victim out on the playground and usually alone. And you'll notice the bullies are never alone because they're cowards. They can't do it alone. They have to run in packs. And I'm talking girl packs just as much as I am boy packs. Want a whole heap of trouble on your plate, ladies? Get a bunch of vicious, mean-spirited, uppity, nasty little girls to decide you just made it onto their list. I made it onto their list. As God is my witness, I don't know what I did. To this day, I don't know what I did. Do you know what it was like to go out there and do battle with them? Every day. They ripped the slats off from me. So I want to caution any young people who might be watching this. Don't climb on the back of someone when you see that they're distressed or they don't understand or that they're different. Instead, put your hand out and offer them your friendship. But to make them feel worse than they already feel is a cruelty you cannot imagine. And I have the perspective of going back to my schools and seeing some of those students now that I'm a grown-up. And now, of course, they want to be my friend, but when they were your age, they didn't want anything to do with me. And the thing of it is, it's too late now. I needed them now, at your age. But I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't rich enough, and I wasn't cool enough. The other thing that's happening in schools, and parents, beware. Bullying is taking on a new, more horrifying dimension. Kids are now using their cell phones, laptops, and computers to disseminate false, damaging, harrowing information about other students. It's teasing beyond teasing. And it's now a federal offense. The FBI is going to be knocking on somebody's door very soon because it's considered an act of terrorism. So just keep that in your hearts, please. I mean, it can't be that hard. How hard is it to be kind? I mean, it takes so much more energy to be awful. Be kind. As far as learning disabilities, here's what I found out about us LD kids. Now, I know some of you kids probably are in special classes and you think you're dumb or that you're stupid or you're failing or you're never going to learn. Do you know, nothing could be further from the truth, because they just finished a 37-year study of young people in special classes, and this is what they found out. If any of you are in special classes, you are not there because you're dumb. You're on the other end of the scale. So drop dead brilliant. They have no idea how to access most of what you know, and you know things. So if you're in there, stick out your chest. I mean, I believe, as all educators in our country believe, every single child is gifted. It's just we humans, we don't open our gifts at the same time. Some of us take longer. God knows I did. So be at peace. Persevere. It isn't easy. But learning disabilities, I believe children who have them are actually geniuses. That's what I believe. Just for your information, the dyslexia and dysnumeria, that exhibits in very typical ways. Unable to read, unable to do numbers. How I learned to read, this is interesting. Maybe this is something you'd be interested in knowing. George Felker, in the book Thank You, Mr. Felker, is the one who taught me to read. I was 14 years old. And then Mrs. Peterson, a year later, at another school, taught me the value of being different. That's a book called The Junkyard Wonders. And a book I've just finished that is coming out soon is called The Art of Miss Chu. This was my art teacher who found another dimension to how I read. Most people, when they look at a written word, let's say a typewritten word on a piece of white paper, you're looking at the black letters to decipher what the word is. That isn't what I look at all. I see the white pattern around that word. I read negative space. So this took years to decipher and understand what I was reading. I had somebody ask me the other day, why didn't you tell your teachers that's what you saw? Well, when I was little, how does a kid articulate that? I didn't know what I was seeing. All I knew is I couldn't do what everybody else did. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized the pattern around words are what I read, which means I take 2 more steps than you do to identify a single word. When you're little, this is deadly. It takes a lot of time. I can do it in lightning speed now. Sensory integration, I would go out on the swings at recess, and the teachers would have to come out and drag me back into the building. Because the more I would swing, I would get dizzy, and then I had clarity. Rocking and moving. When I was a kid, I was a headbanger. I was moving constantly. I would never look into the eyes of the person that was talking to me, but I was listening to every word they were saying. By today's standards, you might even think I'm high-functioning Asperger's. I may be, I don't know. All I know is this rich internal life, which I am forever thankful to my family for nurturing, has saved me in so many ways. If you've got a dreamer, let him dream. don't take that away from them. They'll catch on. You know, if they're 48 years old and they can't spell, then maybe you've got a problem. But for heaven's sake, leave them alone. Their teachers will manage to teach them, and you too. Tell them stories and read to them, and if they see you with written matter, that entices them to want to read. So learning disabilities, I don't even like to call it a disability. I'm not disabled. I'm different. I don't do it the way you do, but I don't consider it a disability. I really don't. It's just, I guess legally that's what the word is called. But I think if anything, it was a gift.